That wasn't me.
Yeah, every other Tuesday.
I saw that, like, right after I got checked. I didn't read all that.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
David, please read the open public meeting statement.
Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Roxbury is given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act as follows. On September 31st, 2025, notice was emailed and faxed to the Daily Record of the North Star Ledger, the West Morris Reporter, and published in the Daily Record. Notice shall also remain posted throughout the year on the bulletin board in the main hallway of the municipal building.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Albrecht. Councilman Terry. Deputy Mayor Crowley. Councilman DeFilippo. Councilman Hall. Councilman Riley. Mayor Patillo.
Here. Item 4, reports of council liaison representatives, council committees, new and old business. Mr. Manager, would you please do your budget presentation?
Yes, good evening, members of the public and council. I am pleased to be here tonight to talk about the budget. I think it's been a very collaborative, multi-month process. I appreciate your patience as the departments each came to present. There's more behind the numbers. So there was stories that they wanted to tell, the impacts that they made, and I appreciate the patience that you had to sit and listen. I know it has been different than what has been done in the past, but I think it's been transparent, and I think it's encouraged debate amongst all of us, and I think we're in a better place today, knowing the uncertainty we have. Obviously, some of these slides are reflective of the significant ICE fiscal impact that we have. Our MET dropped $62 million, which resulted in an area loss of $1.8 million for the schools, the county, specifically for the municipal is $400,000, plus the libraries $28,000, open space. So when you talk about $1.8 million, the impact is significantly felt. What we don't know is the unknown personnel impact if this facility comes, from police, fire, EMS, communications. We're going to have to see, but we are going to be, and I don't know why everything's blanking. But we did this budget purposely to make sure that we're taking those into account, and we will have serious conversations with DHS if when the time comes. Somebody's going to go get robbed. I don't know why this keeps, members of the public, I'm sorry, this keeps bouncing. We'll see. Let's talk about some of the highlights. Proud that some of the investments from staff resulted in a $700,000 decrease of our health insurance. When the school district talked about a $4.1 million increase, that makes this number, I'm so proud that the staff worked so hard to make sure we were in a spot to actually have our health insurance decrease. So kudos to the staff who's worked on that. The library mill increased. We added, with the support of this council, we added a grant team that's joining us, and they've been very active with all of our departments trying to go after grants that we hadn't sought before. And as you know, as part of that, we also put in federal appropriations for the first time in multiple years. So I think that's a highlight as well. Everybody knows about our snow and ice that we had this year. I know Mr. Riley asked some questions last time. Hopefully they were answered about the trust. This budget includes an additional police officer in the labor and the police department. It also includes the 10 hours a month for the health director.
Can Councilman Riley ask you a question?
Absolutely. I thought he had an answer.
Oh, move on. I understand.
Okay. don't know why it keeps, doing this, so let me try that. If I forward it, then go back, maybe it'll stay on. I'll try to outsmart the technology, which is tough to do. So we added a director of planning, very small impact. Obviously, we had somebody who retired last year. It was something that the council pushed me on when I first got hired to say, you know, you guys wanted a new planner, and we hired a great individual for that role. We added a director of fire, not gonna have a budget impact. That person will report directly to me, but will also help our volunteer fire department make sure a lot of the administrative stuff is getting done, especially when we talk about cost recovery. We added $100,000 for ICE impact to legal, but also for public safety and engineering. We have additional costs, and if we, at some point, have the conversations with DHS, we're gonna expect a reimbursement for any of these costs that we're putting out there. Any questions on this slide?
Thank you. Continue.
Some other highlights, and this is where we're excited. The council, one of your key priorities that we heard loud and clear, Steve and Paul over there have utilized the Road AI program and had identified a critical need. And this budget calls for $1.8 million plus another $300,000 to go to road improvements this year. Sidewalks in partnership with our Bricklayers Union. I don't know why I keep doing it, sorry. Let me see here. I'm trying to advance it and then bring it back, but record or? Okay.
Where's the cable going to?
I don't know if Raider's sitting on it, I'll blame Raider. The dog ate the homework. Bonnie, thanks for the nice note you gave me, I'm blaming Raider. There we go. Raider, you moved the right way. How do we survive this one? Okay, I think that was it. Roads, sidewalks, as you know, we partnered. We're going to have an MOU at the next council meeting with the Bricklayers Union. We're going to have a significant investment in our sidewalks across the township.
Does that sidewalk appropriation include the grant?
It doesn't. No.
The grant is from, last year.
On top of that, we have an additional. We will see activity in the next few months on England Avenue. So not only paving and sidewalks, we have a grant for the Publix, you may not know, $700,000 grant for sidewalk improvements there. So that's not inclusive of what we're talking about adding at least another additional $175,000. Some catch basin improvements. The Parks building is still moving forward. We have, you know, ban potentially open space, but as you know, that's part of the appropriations request as well. We really believe, and I know everybody here supported significant improvements at Horseshoe Lake, and that's what we're trying to be competitive with. These are some of the open space funded projects: the basketball court renovation at Del Ave, Kiwanis backstop, and the baseball dugouts in Berkshire Valley. Vehicle equipment included in this budget includes the fire prevention vehicle, the engineering vehicle, and the Park Zero Turn mower. Key here, and that's why I told it, we have established a fleet committee, so all decisions moving forward on fleet will go through a fleet committee, and all the departments understand that that's going to be the way forward in the future. Construction, we have the initial digital data storage, but I did talk to IT. What we're going to do is we're going to bring them in, and Rob, from an IT perspective, we'll look at if this is a good solution moving forward for a whole township plan, so that it's growable and scalable. So we'll take a look at that. Under the fire department, we have the power chair, the Lucas machine, and the ASAP turnout gear. IT, here's some initial investments in the infrastructure. Also based around growing in the future and moving more things to the cloud. stormwater compliance and engineering. Anything on this slide? You guys have questions on?
Anything?
Okay, it all leads to the manager's recommendation to you guys, which is below the tax increase of 3.95%. We anticipate using $4.2 million of our surplus.
That's not a tax increase of 3.95, the tax rate is increased.
Tax rate is increased by 3.95. With usage of our surplus, the capital listed with the other capital improvements that we talked about in previous slides. And this leads to what the estimated municipal tax increase for home assessment at the various levels. So if you just go in the middle there, a $500,000 home will see a $42 monthly increase. There's a balance of this budget that talks about surplus and a reduction in capital without going out and borrowing money for some of the other improvements. So with that, I'll stand and answer any questions.
Councilman Hall?
I think it's important. Can you hear me out there?
Yes, sir.
I think it's important to note that these numbers that you're looking at are for the municipal tax rate. The actual taxation that each resident receives is broken down into several buckets. Bucket one is the school tax, which represents between, I guess, 64–65%. They have their own rate, and I think you've been reading the paper, they mentioned what that rate is. There's also the county tax associated with that. That represents somewhere around 8%, somewhere in that vicinity. And then we have a small open space tax. So what you're seeing is that increase represents the tax from the municipality, which I guess, Valerie, is at 23–24% in that area. So just to make it clear, that's what that represents. That's not what everybody's gonna see. Okay, they're gonna see something bigger than that, but from our point of view, that's what we're raising.
Thank you, Councilman Carey, any questions? Riley? Councilman Hall?
Yeah, and it was brought up on one of the other slides, the projects that we're doing, one of the projects that we funded last year that's also coming due this year is Kiwanis Park, which we're putting in brand new pickleball courts. So probably around July 1st, you'll see those in full flight. And, we've also been working, and town manager has mentioned this before about moving things out to the cloud. We have a computer committee that is going to be looking at that pretty heavily in the future, migrating some of the strategies we have right now to the cloud, and I had a very significant conversation with the deputy mayor about that recently. So some other things that are happening. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of things. One, I want to thank all the department heads. This was kind of a unique year that we heard from everybody, and we got great presentations, I thought. Telling us not just going through the numbers, which of course we love to go through the numbers, but also that we got a better sense of things that are going on that we're not doing this year, maybe next year, the following year. So we have a change going through. The other thing I like, and we brought up, Councilman Hall brought up Kiwanis. A lot of work being done. We're doing the backstop fencing, the sidewalks, so that children that are in the community right around there can walk to Kiwanis, which they haven't been able to do for years. It's not very safe. And we had a great neighborhood meeting of the people along that way talking about not only the sidewalks, but redoing the road. And the complication was it's narrow. There was a lot of old trees there. I know a lot of people wanted to save. It just wasn't feasible to do that and put in sidewalks and make the road wider. People know that area, know that Elan right around Alcott Way narrowed by about 6 feet to go the rest of the way down, all the way down to the blinking light. So this year, not only we see the 175 on the sidewalks, but we're seeing another 700,000. That's it from last year, but as people look around the town, you're gonna see an awful lot of activity. But I do wanna thank all the people. JJ, especially you putting together, short term.
Councilman, thank you. Councilman Riley? Yeah, JJ, thank you. I know you've been here just months, not years, and you've had a lot of things to get caught up on, not only with staff, but with 7 individuals up here as well, which is not easy for sure. I would like to point out highlight a couple things in this budget. I usually try to get very involved in the budget process, and that loss in net value is significant to our impact and our increase this particular year. This council has not worked with an increase like this in 28 years. So to have an increase like this, there has to have a large impact, and one that's responsible at the same time. And I'd really like to point out, you know, with Steve Sinise coming to us with that plan for paving, while it's not the plan we went with initially, there was discussion of 1.6 would maintain our roads inclusive of grants, 1.8 would start improving our roads inclusive of grants, and in this particular year, with nearly $300,000 grant, we're at 2.1 million, which is significant. So that's $500,000 over just maintaining our roadways. So while not being what you and Paul wanted, I'm sure it's a significant increase along with some other things coming along. And I think this particular year we'll have a little better focus, certainly with our manager JJ being here more than 3 or 4 months, to get up to speed on some of these things. So there's a lot of discussion on a lot of open-ended items that we'd like to see, and that's what we're already starting down that path with the fleet committee and what have you. So I think we're moving in a positive way. This is not a slash and burn budget. Yes, some things out of capital were reduced, but it was responsible and led to where our biggest needs are with the dollars that we needed to raise. So I want to thank you, thank our staff, for getting into this, and you know, the timing was very difficult, it still is. I wish there were other things I could have taken a look at a little deeper into service, but I understand, and there's no blame to assess here. It's just a matter of what happened here, and it's the process. So thank you very much for doing what you did, and thank our staff, and Mayor, back to you.
Anyone else? Councilman Hall?
Yeah, I went through some of the things that we've done, but I didn't thank you guys for all your efforts. It's really tough being a town manager meetings, as Jim mentioned, and having to listen to 7 different people giving you 7 different answers to the same problem. So, JJ, thank you very much for all your time, your effort, and for pivoting back and forth on so many things. And, you know, listen, we were hit with this detention center this year also, you know what I mean? And we didn't want this. And it came upon us, and here we are, amongst other things, looking at, you know, a significant loss in revenue. So thank you very much for taking a look at all the options, JJ, and to your staff, thank you very much. And also for addressing, to the best of your ability, the capital needs of the community to keep us rolling. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And I basically want to say the same thing. Thank you to all the staff and AJ for your hard work on the budget this year.
I would be remiss if I didn't thank Val and Lenore, making us all smart on the budget process in New Jersey and the process here. And Rob for bringing new technology, and sometimes it blinks, but the dog fixed it. So I'm blaming Raider for the fix.
Usually it's the benefit of the mayor going last, because he gets that final word, but everything that everybody already said is exactly what I would have said. I truly appreciate the leadership that you provided here, value as well. Every department heads, all of our staff did an amazing job this year. It was not easy. There was lots to lose focus with, but we maintained. I believe that this is going to be a responsible budget again that continues to benefit the people of Roxbury Township. And that's our goal here, make sure the people of Roxbury Township are in the best place possible. So truly appreciate all the time, energy, and effort from the whole township staff, department heads.
only thing I would add, the updated budget will be online before the end of the, by first thing tomorrow morning. It's not done
So the
before then.
most recent.
The most
updated
recent
budget.
updated budget will be online, and if I get a recommendation from council to support this budget, then we will not have to have a budget meeting next week. We'll take this budget for introduction on the 14th.
So is the 14-2 intro to the
What's,
I asked that question.
No, as long as it's the first meeting after the, March 31st deadline, so. So we're-
Next week is a scheduled meeting, but it was scheduled for budget, so
Yes.
it's not, we're okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna cancel that.
We're gonna cancel that budget meeting,
it's the first regular.
the first regular meeting. It's April 14th. We're gonna introduce, and then I believe we will adopt, we have to, be 12.
So Amy, you're gonna notice that?
JJ, the budget that we got today, is that the final, or is there another?
No, it's this budget.
So first on the table, we're gonna cancel next week's meeting.
Yes.
Okay. All right, for people in the audience, we have a, noticed meeting next Tuesday, which is a budget meeting. We will be canceling that meeting next week.
100%.
Next on the table is a motion to move forward with the budget.
I'll make a motion. Second.
I don't mean to.
Yeah, no, motion, okay.
What am I gonna do?
Just a head.
I would prefer up and down instead of the side. Okay.
Any further discussion on that? Anyone have any comments? Anything?
I'm prepared to move forward with the budget.
Very good. Thank you once again.
Great.
Thank you. All right, moving on, this matter is requested, referred by council members, managers, attorneys, and clerk. There are none. Brings us to our first public meeting, public portion. Does anybody in the public have any questions on township business and direct towards the budget?
I do, I have a question on the budget. Before I do, I'd like to say one thing. I think that, we need to correct the tense here, sorry. Can you hear me? Suzanne Oliveri, 21 King Road, Dayton. I do have a question on the budget. However, before I do, I just think we should, correct the tense. I heard we didn't want this, facility. We don't want this facility. Did not want is past tense. We do not want is present tense. So let's keep that in mind.
I always say that, I'm sorry, but I think that.
Okay, thank you. It doesn't matter to us. Thank you, Councilman. Okay, so I have a question specifically around the ICE, legal budget, the 100K. Last week, resolution 2026-82 authorized an initial 50 grand for a professional services contract with, O'Toole Scrivo. We've also put in, 30 grand for Grupo's phone call to the AG, so we're now 80 grand deep in this. The public does deserve some transparency here. What is the responsibilities of O'Toole Scrivo as it regards to the ICE, Roxbury Detention Center?
The budget line that we included is for our outside legal service and our township attorney to help defend our position that we don't want this facility here. So, those bills will be vetted, they'll be sent, I get to see them. Why we put in 50,000, that's a worst case scenario, but I have to put a cap, a ceiling. So I don't expect to get there, but I think you can appreciate that if this goes to federal court or goes to the Supreme Court, the legal bills will go much higher.
Appreciate that.
Trying to be responsible. Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, as far as the budget goes, yeah. What is the arrangement between O'Toole, Scrivo, and Murphy and McKeon?
No, I'm fine answering this. That law firm has experience fighting federal cases in federal court, which we will benefit from. So they are going to work with our township attorney hand in hand to protect our best interest.
But they're not working with our township attorney. You said last week that he's off the case and somebody else from Murphy and McKeon is going to be
That
on
was
it.
never said.
That's what they said.
Who's that?
You guys did. He said it himself and he was sitting right there. He said somebody from my office outside of me will be handling the proceeding.
Tony's.
He said that.
Yeah, the AG took the lead, but Mr. Bucco's firm is certainly.
Mr. Bucco's firm, but he said he would be not handling it. He said somebody from his firm would be handling it.
I don't believe that's the case.
Well, we need to
But
clear that up,
we'll clarify that with Mr. Bucco.
because that's what we heard when he spoke last week.
I think next week, or at our next council meeting in 2 weeks, we'll get
He
clarification.
specifically said somebody from my firm will be taking the reins. He did say that.
Somebody might be taking the lead, but not necessarily, he'll be involved.
So I'd like to know who's taking the lead and what his involvement will be,
Understood.
okay? And how will O'Toole and Scrivo be updating us with their, findings?
They won't be updating us unless their services are utilized.
Okay, when their services are utilized, cause I'm assuming they will be, we have a big lawsuit coming, how will they update us? Will they be attending
They
meetings?
would work with Tony and then update the Attorney General's office, and then the Attorney General would decide whether.
Okay, who outside of Tony, cause I don't know him as that, is gonna be updating this room?
We will provide all public information when it becomes available.
I would like to get clarification on who outside of Tony will be handling this case. And I would like that at the next meeting, because he specifically said that somebody from his firm would be taking the lead. Therefore, that makes it obvious to us that he's not in the lead. Therefore, I don't wanna hear from Tony, I wanna hear from whoever is on the lead. Can we agree to that?
We'll get clarification from Mr. Bucco.
Okay, thank you.
Guy Citron, Tewksbury Township, grew up in Morris County, coming to as a friend, neighbor. Just on the budget, honorable mayor and council, there was a really interesting article in Jersey Vindicator, March 30th, written by Jeffrey Tittle, who's the former New Jersey president of the Sierra Club. I think he's responsible for writing the Highlands Act, which created the Highlands region, very influential guy. And in the article, he pointed out that there might be, again, I'm choosing my words carefully, I don't want to report a fact that might not be true, but it's the article. There might be $1.1 billion sitting in the New Jersey Green Acres Fund. So when I see things like, we need to fix a park, or there's open space that needs to be preserved, or whatever the case may be, there might be money in the state funds for that under the Green Acres program, so I just kindly advise you to look into that.
We are, thank you.
Okay.
My name is Sierra Wilson. I'm in Bud Lake. Last week I asked a question about the budget. It was that Anthony Bucco was it had a line item, I believe it was page 24, 25, in that range, that he was being paid $80K a year. But then on the very next page, it said $18K per month. And I still didn't do the math, but I think that's like 200 something K. What is that $18,000 for? Is that a cap? Is that?
So that was a holdover from a previous budget, that's gonna be removed. That was
Okay.
the Fenimore days, that's not.
It was a footnote that wasn't. written.
Okay,
It was a footnote.
so it won't, so it'll just be $80K on the budget?
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Seeing none, the closed public, moving on. Introduction of proposed ordinances, there are none. Hearing and adoption of ordinances in second reading, there are none. Introduction and adoption of resolution, none. Personnel changes, none. Communications, none. This brings us to our second public portion. Is anybody in the public?
Yes.
Please come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Please maintain 3 minutes.
Before I do my 3 minutes, you guys all forgot to say something. Who's under the desk? Okay, anyway. Yes, I thank you. Okay, Bonnie Rosenthal,
establishing her pronouns random. We recognize many days and months: February, Black History Month; March, Women's History Month; October, Mental Health Awareness Month, only a few. As we recognize these dates, we are thereby recognizing and honoring human lives. So today, on the exact date, March 31st, we recognize Transgender Day of Visibility. We show honor and respect to our trans community, and I hope the council does as well.
Savannah O'Berry, 21 King Road in Langley. After last week's meeting, Mayor Patillo asked Catherine Roxbury, how can they condemn us? This is ironic because I explained this to you all at the last meeting, but I guess you weren't listening, so I'm going to remind you again. We condemn you because you passed an empty resolution. An empty resolution is not a strategy. Let's be honest, there was no plan until the AG stepped in. You signed a paper while this council hid behind the silent majority and openly supported ICE. Since it's Holy Week and we know how much MAGA loves their Jesus, I'm going to give a quote from James. It sums it up as, faith without works is dead. We have no faith in this council because we see no work. Secondly, you're absent when it counts. While volunteers gave thousands of hours of work doing the heavy lifting, you sat in silence. If you truly support the resolution, why are you afraid to show it outside this room? I'll tell you why. It's because you're prioritizing your political favor with your MAGA Republican base over this community's future, fearing that a more public stance against ICE Detention Center will cause your voters to turn on you. You're worried about your political careers more than the city of Roxbury. This council relies on political theater over professionalism. Your optics are a joke. Between retaining your buddy firm, Murphy and McKeon, and Mr. Bucco bringing his private bodyguard to meetings already secured by our very competent Roxbury PD, it's a tax-funded amateur hour. A guy from the, where was he from? The Rotary Club made a joke about it. He didn't even realize that that it is an actual joke. It's so ridiculous. This is a political comedy where you play the lead actors taking credit for work that you didn't do. Councilman Riley and DiFilippo, they call the activist pressure ridiculous and our work imaginary. What is ridiculous is that we perform the work and that your actions were actually what is imaginary. Our results highlight your lack of total action. Until you engage in transparent, bi-directional discourse, we will continue to hold you accountable, and yes, condemn you. This council is not the victims. The real victims here are the thousands of human beings who will be abused and trafficked through the ICE Detention Center in Roxbury thanks to your lackluster performance. So there's your answer to why we condemn you.
Thank you.
Hello, Saladino in the PACCON. Happy Trans Day of Visibility, and I want to say rest in peace to Shael Diamond Sanchez McCrae. Her life was taken last week in Virginia by gunshot. She was a black trans woman. She won titles in many pageants. She was beautiful inside and out. She was only 22. The overwhelming majority of trans people that are murdered every year are black trans women, and if anybody wants to get more involved in supporting the community, please let me know. Mutual aid is needed. It is my understanding that Roxbury PD officers removed and confiscated a Palestinian flag into evidence recently at a demonstration outside the warehouse. I want to talk about why we fly the Palestinian flag and why I was so deeply upset by this. The U.S. and Israel continues to this day to genocide the Palestinian people. Israel's been willing to agree to 70,000 deaths, but the more accurate number by the Lancet would be hundreds of thousands of people murdered by our tax dollars in 2.5 years. Since October 7th, 2023 alone, the U.S. has given an additional $21.7 billion to Israel. Israel just approved of legislation to execute Palestinian prisoners held without trial. The Minister of National Security, Ben-Gvir, and others were proudly videoed celebrating with champagne outside of the hearing, wearing gold pins in the shape of a noose. This is why we fly the Palestinian flag. In January 2024, the ICJ ruled Israel must take all measures to prevent a genocide, and in the week following, they killed an estimated 874 Palestinians. In May 2024, the ICJ ordered Israel to immediately halt its Rafah offensive. Israel invaded the city of Rafah the next day. Fast forward to current time, and Rafah is completely flattened to rubble. It doesn't exist anymore. Massive trigger warning, sexual assault, and violence. Israeli soldiers were caught on video raping a Palestinian man being held without trial. They were applauded and protected by Israeli government and citizens, and they were let off without charges. I've seen decapitated babies, children with their intestines hanging out of their bodies, people burned alive, limbs laying around in rubble while parents cry looking for their child's remains to collect in plastic bags. Children having limbs amputated without the use of anesthesia. The children who are not bombed are starving and sick with no aid are left to suffer in tents through the winter, dodging bombs and gunfire, fighting starvation and sickness. There are approximately 13,000 American citizens serving in the IDF right now. Hamas is not a terrorist group. Hamas is a resistance group formed in response to an illegal occupation by Israel for over 75 years. Palestinians have tried peacefully protesting and they get shot anyway. We fly that flag because we demand it be stopped. We want our tax dollars to stop being used to obliterate populations and start being used for us, the American people. The Palestinian flag represents resilience and strength. I see videos of the remaining children laughing and playing, making the most of all that they know, and this is why we fly the Palestinian flag. If major news networks can morph the Israeli flag with the US flag and display it on national television, I don't understand why we can't fly the Palestinian flag in solidarity. And every time you see that flag, I want you to think of the children in your life and how the only difference between our children and the Palestinian children is cosmic luck. And as Trump looks to build waterfront properties for billionaires on a graveyard of innocent souls in Palestine, we start the same process in Lebanon, Iran, Yemen, Haiti, Cuba. The list goes on. This is why we fly the Palestinian flag. Thank you.
Hey there. My name is Patrick Gallagher. I live in Long Valley, New Jersey. I'm here representing the Skylands branch of the Democratic Socialists of America, and I just wanted to just bring up a couple of things. Some of my friends in DSA have been digging into this website called usaspending.gov. If you're familiar with it, it's just a repository of all publicly available contracts that the federal government disperses, through its various agencies to various contractors. And I thought I'd like to bring to your attention that there has been, I believe, $1.9 million allocated to a firm out of Tennessee called Golden Services. That is supposed to start paying out July 1st of this year for protective security officer services throughout North New Jersey. As you're already aware, there's more than just the Roxbury site where DHS has a footprint. There's Delaney Hall. There's also a facility in Elizabeth. But I thought I'd bring it to your attention that that this is going to be coming. I believe it's a 5-year contract with the potential to award up to $133 million to, again, Golden Services. And I'm sure they will subcontract it out to a bunch of other companies in the local area, because I assume, they're in Tennessee, right? But I just thought I'd talk about that. And speaking of moneyed interests, I suppose I have a comment about what your role as the town council is and what the township of Roxbury has when it comes to contractors that are working with ICE. And I am asking and endeavoring that you refuse all construction permits that are being sent to you by these contractors to work on this facility to convert it into a death camp. And I would also, my whole branch, and probably the general public, would also really appreciate it if you alerted us as soon as possible when a permit request has been filed. And the reason we're asking this is because, as local activists, I believe that we can play a large role in applying public pressure to these companies that are seeking to make money off of the suffering of untold numbers of human beings. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Tracy Reed for all the things. So as part of Mr. Murphy's budget presentation was the $100,000 for assumed ICE public safety issues, and that's great that that's in there. And then it was also mentioned that if we speak with DHS, we'll expect reimbursement. So I just want to wish you all really good luck, because for over half a century, Donald Trump has made an art form out of bilking people out of millions and millions of dollars. So I think it's delusional for us to think that an outlay by Roxbury Township, our tax dollars, is actually going to ever be reimbursed by the federal government under his leadership. Thank you.
Matthew Rosello, Fort New Jersey. So, as you know, we've been talking about the lawsuit with DHS, and I know we've been talking about some of the larger figures, you know, the numbers, the logistics, you know, all these important things. You know, one of the things I wanted to make sure that we not forget, which can sometimes happen when we are dealing with things as large as these lawsuits and dealing with federal things, is the reason why we do this, and it's for individuals, for the people. And so I wanted to introduce to you someone who could be affected by all of this, so that when we are working towards addressing this, we can remember the people that we are fighting for, right? So this is Jocelyn. She's 11 years old, and you know, like any typical 11-year-old, she enjoys being on TikTok and doing religious trends. She swims, plays the French horn, does very well in school as a part of her Boys and Girls Club. She is, you know, enjoys doing movies on Friday nights with her family, getting her nails painted with her grandmother. And so, you know, I'm sure that as I say these things, I'm sure we can all think of kids in our lives who share some of these aspects, especially since I know, as some of you have talked about before, having children and grandchildren, things like that. And so, as we talk about these things, the one thing that I wanted to ask is, for people like her, if she lives in your community, what would we tell her if she tells us that she is afraid of ICE and all of the things that are going to happen? Would you all protect someone like Joseph? And I see some nods, I see some faces unsure, and I unfortunately wanted to let you know that, at least for Jocelyn, it's already too late. Unfortunately, Jocelyn took her own life after being bullied and threatened by kids at her school, saying they were going to call ICE on her and her family, telling her that they were going to have ICE come and take her family away from her, that she would be left alone. And it's heartbreaking, and especially for someone, this hits very close to home for me. I work in the mental health field, and I don't know if any of you have, but I've sat across the table from people who tell me how they want to take their own lives, and the despair and pain that I see in their face and their eyes as they look forward to a future that they don't see hope in. And so I bring her up because when we talk about the damage that ICE is going to do to this community, we tend to focus on numbers on a page, dollars in an account. But the damage that's going to happen is more than can be calculated in those means. We're talking about the safety and the mental health of people just like Jocelyn all over this community, this state, this country. And so as we continue to fight this battle, I want you to please remember not just the large figures, but people like Jocelyn. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm still Guy Citron from Tewksbury. Second bite of the apple. Thank you for all your time, Honorable Mayor and Council and Township Manager, Mr. Murphy. I cannot imagine how difficult putting a budget is together, so thank you for your time and service. If the facility in question, I'm just asking, I try to be, you know, cool, I'm not trying to gotcha anybody. No permits have been filed yet, is that correct? Okay. So, if someone had bought that warehouse and wanted to convert it to like a bar or a zoo or like a circus, I know, it's fun, right? You can laugh, it's okay. I'm trying to be cool with you, trying to make a point in a cool way. Yep, right, yep. Maybe, I don't know, a cookie factory, you know, I'm just trying to be imaginative here. You have the tools to say, well, you didn't apply for the permit, cookie factory operator, so we're gonna shut off the water, or we're gonna deny you some kind of town resource that you would have had to be permitted to use. Is that train of thought correct, at least?
Yes.
Okay. So, oh, sorry.
We wouldn't shut anything off.
Oh yeah, no, I want that clarity, so please.
Permit in question, yes.
I'm sorry?
Permitting, yes, you are correct.
Oh, okay, all right. But you wouldn't shut anything off? Is what you,
I don't
we
know
don't
the
have to go there.
situation, but
All right, let's just let it be abstract for a minute, that's fine. I bring that up because, you know, the people of Roxbury and your neighbors like myself, you know, we recognize your authority as we do any legitimate government in the state of New Jersey that's formed by the people. You have power to make ordinances and to enforce permits. And I'm truly struggling to understand, and I'm trying to echo what was said. I'm struggling to understand how this one slips by that kind of a permit process. Like, how do we let a detention facility, which is, as you've stated in your resolution and in other places, so unfit, environmentally speaking, in terms of utilities and this, that, with water and sewage. Why can we not do more? As if it were a cookie factory or a bar or a circus or whatever other kind of commercial application. Because at the end of the day, and other people are pointing it out, this is a very serious for-profit incarceration industry, and it's only expanding. And we together, as other members of the public have pointed out, and I know we don't see eye to eye on everything all the time. I know the temperature gets hot in here. People make each other upset. I'm aware of this. I'll wrap it up. Thank you. But why can't we stand together and do more? We will back you up. Please consider it. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Sierra Wilson, Bud Lake. I want to give you some advice. We've given you this advice before, but nothing came out of it, so I will give it again. There are a few things you can do to stop an ICE facility. One being a moratorium, no construction on a property in Roxbury. That has worked in other states, it will work here. The second would be to pass an ordinance, again, banning any specific construction in Roxbury. It's worked in other states, it will work here. And then the final thing that I will recommend tonight is a temporary restraining order. That will work. The reason I have a job today, the reason I still have a job today, is because a temporary restraining order against the US government. It will work. And if that didn't convince you, I'm going to read you a quote. And again, trigger warning just with every quote that I read. We are scared to ask for anything because the officers start threatening us that they'll put us in different detention centers and put our children in foster care. It feels like we were in fascist Germany, and it feels like they're going to put gas into the room and just let us die. Do you want that here in Roxbury? We don't want that here in Roxbury. We don't want that here in New Jersey. So take my advice, take the advice of the people behind me, and do something. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Atish. Atish Gupta. I live on 69 Square Ave in Newton, New Jersey. I have some questions. So you said that no construction permit has been filed for the warehouse. You have the ability to see if one has been filed. Right. Will you notify the public once it has been filed? Because I think the public can file for information about that, but only once it's been approved. So to improve that time.
All public information that we're possibly allowed to, as soon as it's available.
Okay, I appreciate that. I know some people in Philadelphia who are involved in rapid response activities. They recently had an interesting situation in which ICE called the police on them. So the police came, talked to them, and basically interrogated them and released them. So it seems like this obviously stopped them from what they were trying to do as far as like responding to the ICE presence. If a situation like that were to occur here, I'm wondering, the Immigrant Trust Directive prohibits cooperation between local law enforcement and federal law enforcement in New Jersey. But if the Roxbury police are called in a situation in which ICE is violating the law, which they have done in many cases, what would be the police department's response to that? Would they apprehend the ICE officers? And if you don't know the answer to that, I believe your chief of police is here as well.
I'm not gonna speculate on hypotheticals at this point.
Okay, what is your jurisdiction over the police department? If you pass a resolution, can you control their behaviors?
I would request that our police department follow the law, maintain the law for everybody.
Wait, you're a lawmaker. So can you pass a law that would explicitly prohibit the police from interference with DHS or like collaborating with
I'm not
DHS?
gonna answer that question at this point in time. I would hope that our police, and I know our police department will follow the law, protect everybody who's involved, no matter what side they're on.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Well, I'll probably touch base about this through other channels, but appreciate your records on this, your statements about this on the record. Thank you.
And I want to echo the restraining order that you heard last week from a couple of people. And I'm realizing that our news is so segregated that sometimes even if we're trying to stay up on so much, we just don't hear it if we're getting different algorithms. So it's big news when I look on my phone that Maryland has completely succeeded through a restraining order. Maryland has stopped, has it completely shut down, is really doing well with just a restraining order. And every day that passes, so much is changing in our government. Who knows if an ICE detention center will even be wanted? So every day that we get is another day working. So restraining order is a very, very valid idea. It's working in Maryland. And in Georgia, the town council did vote to put a lock on the water and sewer. They just locked it up. And that is something that's working there. They just said, nope, we're not gonna allow this. You didn't put through the right permits, you didn't put through the right through DEP, we're locking you out. And that's working there. And then in Louisiana, where they didn't do these things, they were out without water and sewer for 5 days. They just handed buckets out. Said everybody just go to the bathroom out in the public with 200 people in those cages in their buckets. And then you put the bucket, they dumped it out, gave it back to you with some water in it to wash off. And that's how they handled their problem. While the town was having to deal with all the overflow of all the sewer that the sewer could not handle. And being a landowner that has multiple properties that have not been allowed to develop because of sewer issues, I don't see how in the world our sewer can handle this. We will be in the news like Louisiana. This is not realistic. This is a warehouse that is full of Athens. This is not realistic in any way. Even as a cookie factory, it's not realistic. So restraining orders are working. Great idea. Thank you.
Seeing nobody else, close public. Motion to adjourn. Second. Thank you, everyone.